You need something that's going to stand between you and your credit, because life is in the middle and it's always happening. What's up, my people, and welcome to the channel. My name is Diamond, and this is where the conversation of money intersects with the real world to help you achieve your financial goals. So if you haven't done so, be sure to click the subscribe button so that you can join the community. Today, I'm talking about how to pay off debt even with a low income. And today's video is sponsored by my own stupidity and personal experience. I'm going to share with you 6 tips that helped me get out of debt and how you can apply them to your situation to not only get out of debt, but ensure that the debt never returns. I, like a lot of folks, went off to college right after high school. Because why? In order to be successful, you need to have a college degree and you need good credit. So there I was, 18 years old, working on my college degree and trying to figure out this credit game. And how do you build good credit? I heard you need to get a credit card and use it responsibly. So that's exactly what I did. Went out and got a credit card. 1 credit card turned into 2. 2 turned into 3. I was working, I was going to school, I was paying my credit cards off in full. Every single month, my credit score was going up. Everything seemed like it was falling into place. But they were not telling me the full story. Why were they not telling me the other side to this story? And what they wasn't telling me was that at this point, you're actually earning the lowest amount of money that you're ever going to earn in your life. And while it is important to build credit, this is the worst time to try to build your credit. Why? Because you're not making a lot of money, which means you don't have a lot of margin, which means even a very small hiccup can throw your whole plan off track. And to top it off, you're developing your money habits that's going to follow you through your 20s and into your 30s. So this is the time to focus on your education, not to be building your credit. Because when you have available credit and you don't have any money and you have very little margin in your budget, you're going to find yourself in debt. It's just how it works, because something's going to come up and you're going to have to use that credit to take care of it. And since you didn't have the money in the first place, it's going to turn into debt. So this brings me to my first tip, which is get your mind right. And by that, I mean, we have to understand what credit is, how it works, and what's the connection between credit and debt, because these two are connected. As much as they try to make it seem like debt is over here and credit's over here, debt is bad, but credit is good. Well, we need to understand that credit is debt. Debt is credit. They are one and the same. And if you don't have money, that credit that you have is going to turn into debt. So as we start walking through these different tips and getting out of debt, this change in mindset has to be with you the entire process. You have to take debt off the table, which means temporarily you may have to take credit off the table, because you can't use credit to solve your problems anymore. You have to solve them in some other manner. And this is going to be the cornerstone to every tip that we talk about through this journey. And right now is a good time to talk about some of the things that I tried that just don't work. Don't try to move your debt around, like trying to do balance transfers to pay off a credit card, or trying to consolidate your debt and do some type of consolidation loan. This stuff isn't going to work, because part of the process of getting out of debt is also about changing your mind, getting your mind right. And so all these things, what they do is allow you to move the debt around, and you may even get it paid off. But because you didn't change your thought process around credit and debt and how it all works, you're going to find yourself in debt again, and good chances in a much bigger pile of debt than you did the first time. So get your mind right. Now, once you know that your mind is right and you're ready to get this going, let's move on to step 2, which is you have to know where you stand. Now, you may know what debts you owe, but I want you to go and pull all 3 credit bureau reports from all 3 companies. And the best place to do this is annualcreditreport.com. This is the official website for the FTC, which allows you to pull your credit report one time every 12 months for free. And right now, due to the coronavirus, they're offering you the ability to pull your credit report once a week for the next year. So through April 2021, you're able to pull your credit report weekly from annualcreditreport.com. And once you pull this report, I want you to write a list of all the debts that you owe. Now, once you have your list and the total, I want you to split this list into 2 lists. Now, for some people, you're only going to have 1 list. But this second list is going to be for anything that you have in collections, things that you are behind on and that you're not paying on anymore. Because we're going to work those debts completely separate from the ones that you actually owe and you're current on. Because as we're getting out of debt, you don't want to go any further and you don't want to do any more damage to your credit report. So we want to make sure that things that are current stay current. The things that are in collections, they're already in collections. And this is a good time for me to talk about these fly-by-night credit repair services where they say, give me a flat fee and I'll wipe off all your negative debt and your credit score will be boosted overnight and you won't have to pay nothing, just pay me. Let me tell you something. They may have the ability to get something removed from your credit, but it's going to be your luck that as soon as you go out and try to buy a house, the week before you close, they're going to pull your credit again and some old collection that you had that was supposed to be gone pops back up on your report and now you lose your financing and you lose the house. So don't go through these type of things to get your credit repaired. There's no magic potion. There's no secret antidote that you can use to build your credit. What you do to build your credit is to pay the people you owe, ensure that your credit report reflects accurate information, and that will get your credit score boosted. I was able to boost my credit score 150 points in 1 year, and I bought a house without paying one single penny to anybody. All this information is available and it's out there. So don't fall for those gimmicks. Know where you stand and get that list of debt ready to go. Once you have that set up, we're going to set up a barrier between you and debt. So what I mean by that is you need something that's going to stand between you and your credit, because life is in the middle and it's always happening. And if you don't have a barrier in between you, when something happens, you're going to look back to credit to solve the problem, which later is going to turn into debt. So this barrier is called an emergency fund. The emergency fund is what you have to protect yourself when something hits you. Now, how do you build an emergency fund and how much should it be? Well, your emergency fund should be built as fast as you can. And how much? It should be small enough to be able to be built quickly, but large enough to cover the most common things that may happen to you. So if you're married, I would say a $2,000 emergency fund. If you're single, I would say a $1,000 emergency fund. And if you're really uncomfortable, I would say no more than 1 month's worth of your expenses, because we want you to get out of debt, right? You trying to get out of debt. You don't want to spend the next 6 to 8 months trying to build this little basic starter emergency fund before you get to the debt. You want to be halfway through your debt in 6 to 8 months. So make it small, $1,000 or $2,000, just enough to cover like a deductible on your car or on your house, or if you had to fly home for a family emergency, be able to get some plane tickets and a rental car with this money. And keep in mind, this money is not all the money that you have, because you have this set aside, but you also have the ability to pay the minimums on everything and then use whatever extra cash you can come up with that month to handle the emergency. So you may be able to turn $1,000 into $1,200 or $1,500 really quick. And for a lot of you, this is big, because this is going to be the first time for some of you that you have a pile of money sitting in the bank that you don't have anything to do with it. It's just there, so this is going to be big. During this step, I also want you to create a list of what you deem emergencies. And this is going to help, especially if you have the impulse to go in and tap into that account to do something that is not an emergency. By writing it out ahead of time and defining what you consider an emergency, when you get that urge to go tap into that account, you can look at that list and just say, note to self, I told myself that this is not an emergency. And then you don't pull from it. So have a predefined list. And this list is also going to get you thinking about how much money you should have in this emergency fund. The next thing that you need to do is you have to get on a budget. And I know that is taboo and everyone hates that word. So from here on out, I'm just going to call it a spending plan. But you need a spending plan. And the way I want you to create this spending plan is simple. I want you to think of next month and write out what next month is going to look like. You already have it in your head. We all run our numbers in our head, even if we don't write them down. So this time, I just want you to write them down and tell me what next month looks like. Then pull your bank statement for last month and use that same piece of paper and write down what you actually spent last month on all those different categories. And if you find that you're spending money that you didn't allocate on your spending plan, I want you to write those in as well. And this is huge because a lot of people will tell you when you're getting out of debt, you need to make more money and just live on less than you make. Well, that's cool, but how do I go about doing that? This is the first step in living on less than you make. Because when you see what you're actually spending money on, it's going to be easy for you to cut out some things without doing any damage to your life. You're not going to feel some of this stuff that you can cut out because we all have things that we spend money on that if we was being on purpose and writing it down, we would never say to ourselves, we're going to spend this dollar amount on this particular item. So this is an easy way to cut some of those items out your life. And also, as you get further along in your debt payoff journey, you're going to come back to this spending plan and you're going to find yourself cutting more and more and more because the further you get along, the more progress you make, you're going to feel that momentum of getting out of debt and you're going to see that finish line and it's going to excite you and that's going to drive you to want to cut more out of your life. So for now, we're just going to keep it simple. We're going to write a spending plan and cut out any frivolous spending. And then that is going to tell you how much extra money you have available to throw at your debt. And now we have these things in place. We're moving along, but we're not quite ready to hit the debt just yet. The next thing you want to do is you want to set some goals, set some milestones, and set a payoff date. You want to know exactly, based off your spending plan, how much money you have and how long is it going to take you so you can picture the date, the month, and the year that you're going to become debt free. And what I want you to do is write this out in some type of visual fashion and make it so that you can chart and track your progress. Because ever since we was a little kid, it was something satisfying about getting a star or a sticker or a check mark. And that is still applicable today. So as you're moving along this journey and you're paying things off, I want you to set milestones and give yourself a star or a sticker or color in a block or whatever you do. But some way to give yourself a pat on the back, an attaboy, so you can keep going. And these milestones, these are where you're going to reward yourself. Think of some way that you can treat yourself during this journey because this is going to be a difficult journey to go through, but it's going to be worth it. At times, you're going to feel like you want to give up and you want to quit. So it's important to identify milestones ahead of time so that you can give yourself those rewards and keep going. And on that note, I want you to get an accountability partner. I want you to get somebody who you trust that you can open up to and tell them about your debt, and that way that person can be there for you when you need somebody to lean on, when you feel like quitting, when you want to do something stupid, they can be there to slap you in the face and get you right. This is a person that you know, love, and trust, but get that person on your team. And now that we have these things in place, we got our mind right. We know where we stand. We have an emergency fund. The spending plan is on lock. We have our goals set and our milestones. Now you're ready to actually attack the debt. All these other things was just foundational pieces to get you set up for success. And now we're about to implement the plan. Now, how do you get on track to pay off your debt? How do you pay off your debt? You need a system. And the system I'm going to recommend for you is the Debt Snowball. And this is where you list your bills from largest to smallest based off the balance. You disregard everything else. Don't worry about interest rate. Don't worry about minimum payments. None of that. Just balance. Highest to lowest. And you're going to pay the minimum payments on all your bills. And when you get to the smallest one, you're going to hit it with all that extra cash that you came up with in your spending plan. And once that debt is paid off, you're going to take that minimum payment and all the extra cash up to the next one, and you're going to hit that one. Now, a lot of people will say that I'm wrong and mathematically it's incorrect and you should do something else and base it off of the interest rate and that'll save you more money. And they would be correct. And that method is called the debt avalanche. But we're not doing math here. We're trying to get out of debt. And since you have a low income, you're going to get more momentum by paying off a smaller debt because that's going to free up more cash flow in your monthly budget, which is going to give you more of a drive to go into the next one. If you try to do it based off your interest rate, then you may find that your highest interest rate is also your highest balance. And if you have to go at this thing for 18 months before you knock out even one bill, you might not complete the program. Just remember, just think about it like this. If you had to get on a diet and they told you this diet is going to be the best thing ever and you're going to lose all the weight that you want to lose, however, you had to be on this diet for 6 months before you lost your first pound, how likely are you to complete that diet? Probably not. So that's why the snowball is more effective, in my opinion, because it gives you that emotional win. It gives you that emotional drive, that push, that yes, I'm doing this, this can be done. And you just get it done and you do it one at a time. You can go either way. Neither way is wrong. The question is, which method can you use? Which method is going to make you stick with the program? And that's how you're going to get out of debt. I'm telling you, this is hard, but it's so worth it. And if you use these 6 steps, you will get this debt out your life. And because most of this process was more about adjusting your mental, you're going to ensure that that debt never returns. If you found this video helpful, then do me a favor, share it with somebody that you know could use this information. And when you become debt free, come back to this video and comment in big letters, I'm debt free. Until next time, I'm Diamond. Peace.